How's it going, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And today I'm here with a couple people to talk about the sacred band of, is it Thebes?
Yes.
Thebes. Yes.
Thebes. Okay. Well, I'm going to let these gentlemen tell a little bit about themselves. So, Glenn, why don't you take it away? Who are you, sir? What have you done, and what brought this on?
I'm a writer. I did stand-up for years. I've written for series and sketch shows and movies, and I've been writing with Bart for a number of years. But and this might be interesting, my good friend, mentor, father figure was a man named Sid Jacobson. Sid ran Harvey's Harvey comic books. He ran Marvel's children's division. He created Richie Rich. He created Wendy the Good Witch. He is a legend in his business. He sold graphic novels. He did graphic novels, the version of the 9/11 report and the Diary of Anne Frank. So he sold millions of that. And he came to me when his agent said a number of years ago, almost 20, look for something like the 300 that would be really interesting. And he came to me and he found the Sacred Band of Thebes. It's based on a true story. It's an army that existed for 40 years. They are the army that beat the 300. And for 40 years, they ended Spartan rule. And for 40 years, they were considered the greatest fighting force on earth. And he came to me and said, we need to write this. We want you to write it. Are you interested? And I said, I'd never done a graphic novel. I never did anything like this before. But I figured if Sid thinks I can do it and he's going to be there with me, I'll try it. And I gave it to Bart and we started looking at the story and said, oh, yes, this is a great story. So that's the genesis.
Bart, when did you get involved? How did you two meet?
Well, Glenn and I have known each other for 104 years. We're very old. But no, we've written together, we've written apart, we've written together. We've been friends for Glenn, what?
Since 91. 90.
Yeah, so it's been a while. We played ball together, and he came to me and said, Sid had this idea, and we started talking about it. And you do your research, and then you're like, how can we approach this? And there were some things that really interested Glenn and I, and one of them was that they basically picked kids out of villages that they thought would be great warriors, and then, for lack of a better term, kidnapped these kids and turned them into warriors. And we wanted to do something that was kind of interesting. This is, how the Thebes worked is they were actually 150 couples, because it's based on Plato. Is it not, Glenn? The Plato?
Yeah, Plato thought, and again, it's 400 BC, so it's a whole different concept.
Yeah.
Plato had the idea that the greatest army, because armies back then, like the 300 with 300 warriors, he thought the greatest army would be an army of 150 pair of lovers, because they'd be fighting not only for Greece or Rome or whoever, but they'd be fighting for the person next to them. And you have to remember back that time, and as we've written also about it, is it's a whole different idea. It was men in their early 20s would find boys in their 50s, and they would mentor them. And these guys, they would get married, they'd have families, but the mentorship included sex, and that included there. And what I always found interesting was they would have that relationship, and then when the younger one became around 20, he would find somebody, and the older one would go just with his wife. And it was that kind of, when they would see two men who were in their late 40s together, it would be like, what's wrong with them? So it wasn't this gay, as we think now, relationship lifetime. It was just part of the culture of ancient Greece, ancient Rome. That's why the baths and all those stories and stuff like that. So it's a whole different concept.
And we were trying to figure a way to break into this story. And when we first started this, Don't Ask, Don't Tell had been around for about 10 years. And, so I was like, let's turn this around. Why don't we approach this as the kids that we base it on two kids that are best friends when they were little. We're taken out of this village. They're still best friends. And they're taken by two different mentors. One's very cruel and the other one's, really into teaching his ward how to become a warrior, and the other one's just he's just treated very, very, very badly by a very bad person that was in the Thebes, and that character falls in love with a woman. Well, he was still too young to go off and do that. So we kind of did the don't ask. We took don't ask, don't tell. He tells his friend, I've met this woman. I've never felt like this. I'm in love with her. And his friend basically helps him cover this so that he can stay a Thebe, because he would have to leave, and have this secret life that he's had with this woman. And it becomes a really beautiful love story on a couple levels. The love story that he has with this woman, that they have children and it grows into a family, and it's really quite a unique love story. And also the love story of two friends. These two guys are not lovers. That never happens between them. They're best friends, and it's the story of two best friends who are willing to sacrifice everything. I don't want to give everything away, but are willing to sacrifice everything for each other. And and that really became the heart and soul of these stories for us. And that gave us kind of a way into telling a bigger canvas with a story that was something that was very personal, that we thought that audiences would really glom onto and like. The story of friendship and love, and what happens when you can't be who you are, that you have to go live a secret life. And so that's how Glenn and I approached this thing. And then I'll let we took
and being the history person I am, the story involves, even though the story is not true, it involves the 4 major battles the Thebes had. It involves the actual army. Matter of fact, at the end, the Thebes existed for 40 years. And I realized the other day, we've been working on this for almost 20. So we're almost as long as Thebes. But when Thebes was destroyed, and Alexander the Great is part of this, his father, King Philip, was held prisoner by Thebes when he was a young boy. And back in those times, when you held someone who's a prince, who's going to be a king, and you held him in prison, your responsibility as your prisoner is not just to hold him, but to train him, to teach him, and to take care of him. So King Philip was actually trained in battle by Thebes. And when he destroyed them at the end with great, much bigger numbers, at the end, he took the bodies and he put them in a cemetery, legendly buried them, and made a statue. In 1880s, an archaeology found this statue, which you can see today in Greece, and next to it, they uncovered 267 bodies neatly rowed, and that was the sacred band. So it's a true. We have it. It's based on true things, and we just have the 2 kids kind of going through, so we have a story that we can tell to make it interesting, besides just here's the fact. But it's just an incredible piece of history. And it's interesting, people know about it, and people keep saying, why isn't this a movie? And we're saying, hello. So that's why we did this.
So why a graphic novel? And that is a good question, right? Like, why a graphic novel? Why not a novel? I know that, well, you mentioned Sid, Glenn.
Yeah.
And is that the way you've always envisioned this to work, as a graphic novel?
I never saw. Sid came to me and said he was going to do a graphic novel. First of all, Sid, because he was older and a big fan of Mel Brooks, came to me. He goes, I found this story. It's a gay army. Be the funniest thing ever, funniest book. But I'm not a comedy. You're a comedy writer. You want to do that? And we looked over it, and I read it, and I came back and I said, here's the deal, Sid. It's not a comedy. It's a drama. It's a series. We will write it for you, but we have 2 things I just have. One, never say gay, and never say, because if you say gay army, people are going to think Nathan Lane, and it becomes Mel Brooks Men in Tights. That's not what this is. And I said, what we're going to do is because we want to make this a movie. That's our idea. So rather than writing a graphic, it's interesting, when I gave it to Sid and we had a script, and he said, now you have to put it in format for a graphic novel for comic books. And I'd never done that before. And he sent me some pages. This is the format with the, page 1, 4 panels or 5 panels, and you have all the descriptions. And I then took the script and put it in that format. I gave it to him, and Sid got back to me and he said, I thought you said you never did this before. And I said, I haven't. He said, this is one of the best graphic novel manuscripts I've ever seen. How did you do it? And I said, because I didn't write a graphic novel, I storyboarded a movie. And that's where we saw it for there. So we kind of, in our mind, it was always, this is a movie. This is movie companies like IP. They like Gladiators. Let's put everything together so that when we get to this point, we can now go out to studios. And we're actually doing that now and talking to people about, oh, this would make a great movie. But that's why graphic novel. We weren't thinking graphic novel wasn't anything I was into or read a lot of, but Sid did it, and we said, this is the way to make this project.
Yeah, I don't think we could have written this as a novel. The pictures tell the story.
Yeah. And
so, and I think that's what, so, the artwork in this is exquisite. It's beyond what I thought this was going to be. It's really beautiful. It's very big. And I don't know how we would have written it. I've written 10 novels, and I've written way too many movies. So it was like, for us, we had to tell this story in pictures and then allow the artist to take it and make, have it grow from there. We wrote the script and what we wanted in every panel. And these guys took it to town. I mean, I was stunned by what they came up with. I didn't think it would be as beautiful. I don't know what I thought it was going to be, but I certainly didn't think it was going to be as beautiful as it is.
Yeah, because I saw some basic movie, and it's actually, there's 3 different artists Ernie Colon, who was Sid's partner, also legendary, did the first pass for us. But I was thinking a 1960s Spartacus movie.
When Ernie drew that, what year was that? Because Ernie passed away. Oh my gosh, Ernie's been gone since 2019.
Yeah, yes.
Phenomenal artist, by the way. I love his art.
This was the last thing, and I met him. I'll tell you a funny. He finished it in 2018. We started this project in 2009.
Okay.
So Ernie did it in about 2011, 2012. We read it, then we went to publishers, and the business was changing, and they going, oh, we don't want this. We want to see art. We have to do this. And as Sid would take us places, everything was changing. And we said, well, let's have Ernie. He went to Ernie and goes, let's do it. Ernie's, in my mind, I was thinking like a 1960s Spartacus movie, bright colors and really sharp. And Ernie was doing his, like, his style probably better than I do. It wasn't quite what I was in my imagining. Matter of fact, I called Sid one day on the phone. And I said to him, I'm going to hell. And he goes, why? I said, I've just yelled at an 84-year-old man. Because I was like, no, this is not what I want. And you get involved and passionate. And
I mean, he had a very, I can see the matchup though, because he had done things like Conan the Barbarian, Red Sonja, Iraq, Son of Thunder. He did a little bit of Warlord for DC Comics. So he's done a lot of sword and fantasy. So I can kind of see why that matchup was there.
Yes. And they were, and it's who Sid knew. He got us the first images. And I started seeing, oh, this is good, but I wanted something different. Then Ernie got sick. And we need to do something else. And Sid and I went to Comic-Con, one of those, and we were walking around Artist Alley, looking at everybody and go, no, 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 no. And then I looked over, and Ace Continato was there doing stuff. And he does very detailed and really, really amazing work. And I looked at it and said, that's what I want. That kind of there. So we talked to Ace, and it took a while, and he did other things. And Ace started then drawing. He drew the likeness of Androcles and Callisosus. That's Ace. And then he was working on it, and slowly with other projects, as I'm finding out, that's how they. Unless you're DC and Marvel, if everybody's working on independent things, it's like we'll get to it. We come, we go. And so the first 60 pages is all Ace. And he said, this is what the book is. And then he heard and a couple of things happened and and we had to replace him. And that was the hard part, because you can't just bring in another artist. You need to find someone who can come in and match that. And we went through different people we were giving, and Sid was actually McLean. I don't know if you know McLean McGuire. He's in Texas. He does a lot of these. He just does everything on the books. He doesn't draw, but he puts them together. He designs, he sells, he runs these, Comic Cons and things like that. And he knew all the artists, and he would send out, we need this. And we had all different people trying to get it, but it didn't work. And then we found Daniel Afani in Italy, and he was close enough. And then what he did, which was great, is he was willing to limit what his style was to match what was there. So if you look at the book now, you can't really tell. I know kind of where it is, but I think if you look at it, you wouldn't have any idea that there were two different artists doing it.
Is it all brought together by the colorist?
Two colorists.
Oh, you even got two colors. Wow. Okay.
Rita Moore. Well, we had a colorist who, when McLean got in, the first thing he did was fire him because he was just all over the place and was just unreliable, and so he got fired. And McLean knew in Texas Rita Moore, and Rita Moore came in and she put colors in that just exploded off the page. When I saw it, it was like, oh my God, now I have this art that looked great, and now the colors and the flames and everything's exploding off it. And then she did the first 40, 50 pages. And then she had issues and illness and stuff like that and couldn't continue. So then we've been looking for different people. And last one was Matthew Chambers, who came in and he started doing samples. I said, yeah, but you have to match what's here. And he kept looking. So he was able to see what she did. And then he also didn't do exactly what he's comfortable with, but did enough that matched. So again, I don't think you can tell that there were two different colorists. There's certain little things you do, and I was the most critical because I've been looking at these pages for 10 years. So it's like I know everything about it. But when he got together, when I started looking, I go, oh, so yeah. So we have two different artists, two different colorists, and somehow it all blends together. Is just it looks seamless. I would like to take credit for any of that stuff. I take no credit for anything except for the story.
Okay. Now tell me a little bit about the story. Give me the
Bart.
I don't know if I want to call it the elevator pitch, because I have heard you talk to me about it. But if you were telling a stranger about this and the stranger's like, hey, I already know the story of 300, what do you say?
I'd say we go to the minutia of it. We tell the story of two young kids who are kidnapped out of their village, who become the leader of the Sacred Band of Thebes. They're best friends, and as they grow older and become the warriors they're supposed to become, they almost think with one brain. They've been together for so long. And usually in the Thebes, that there's one guy that runs it. These two guys, became the leaders, and one had a secret, and that is he was in love with this woman and was starting a family. And his friend loves him so much that he did everything he could to make sure that his friend could live the life he wanted and stay part of the Thebes. And ultimately, at the end, with the battle with Philip, what was that battle called, Glenn?
It's a Greek name. It's all Greek to me.
But anyway, that battle, we find out who will sacrifice, who will give up the greatest sacrifice to make sure that his best friend can go on and live his life. Yeah.
And the one thing I would add, that's the elevator pitch is such a story when they want to know. But my thing that we get them in is you all know about the 300. This is the army that destroyed the 300. and ended their rule and ended Spartan rule. So it's like, oh, everybody knows about Spartan and stuff like that. These are the people who put an end to that. That's how good they were. And like I said, for 40 years, they were considered the greatest fighting force on the face of the earth.
Okay. How long is this book? What goodies are in this book? So we do have a Kickstarter.
Yes.
And the Kickstarter right now, it has met its goals. So congratulations, gentlemen. But there can always be more.
Yes.
Because there's several add-ons and several awards to unlock. But the book itself, you have a softcover version and a hardcover version and a PDF
Right.
version. What I
three different cover versions. There are 3 different covers we made.
Oh, okay.
And the soft cover and the hard cover, and I think the hardcover can also be linen. It depends how crazy you want to get.
I will say what I liked about this book that stood out is also the landscape format. So it's not in the traditional format.
And
in graphic novels.
I'll explain that. I said because I wasn't thinking in terms of a book. I thought by the time that the pictures, I want the colors to just jump out of it, even before I saw the colors. So I was thinking people would read this on their iPad, and the size was because I had an iPad, and I go, I'm not going to read this kind of graphic novel this way. I want to read that way. So I turned my iPad horizontal, and they said that's the size I want for the pages. And which, by the way, a lot of people said you can't do that. Books won't put it on this shelf, and it's like, and as the business has changed, because it's no longer about bookstores, it's about selling it. And matter of fact, I had a meeting at Legendary with the person who runs the comic division there. I met him at Comic-Con, and I showed him some of the preliminary. This is almost 10 years ago, and I showed him some of the artwork. I said, going through, and I said, we're trying to get a publisher. And he looked at me, he goes, you don't want a publisher? I said, why not? And he said, everything's changing. You'll be able to do this by Amazon and Apple, and you'll be able to get this out, and they'll print and do all that. He said, more importantly, he said, the publishers are going to take it. They're going to want to change it. He goes, I like landscape. They're going to say, oh, we can't put landscape in stores. They're going to thinking of shelves. And he said, most importantly, he goes, you guys are film writers. You want to write. And the way the publishing works is the publisher will buy the book, and then they'll sell it to a studio, and it's up to you to try and convince the studio to hire you. He goes, you need to keep in charge, so when it's sold, you're part of the project, that they can't sell it without you. So that's how it got into. Goes, oh, where all of a sudden I thought I was writing a book, and I'd get a publisher and be done with it. All of a sudden I go, oh, I'm creating a book and I'm publishing it. And every step along the way, and as I said, every time I thought I was done, they kept pulling me back in.
How long is this book?
122 pages.
122 pages.
122 pages, cover to cover.
Yeah.
Are there extra goodies in the back, like for back matter extras?
On the Kickstarter, there are.
Okay.
The Kickstarter, we've got buttons, and we've got little enamel pins. There's T-shirts. There's all these different things that we've created for that. The back cover is, if you've seen on anything, that hand, which there's the hand it's lying on the desert, and you see 2 guys running off on the side. I don't know. You probably have seen it. And I sent you the thing. It's the last one. That's going to be the back cover. That's actually was created by Ernie.
Oh,
and when Ernie created that, I looked at it. Was one of the panels inside just one of the scenes. I said, it doesn't work for here, but that's incredible. And I said, that's the back cover. There's room to put little blurbs. We've gotten some great reviews. These reviews come in, and I've been reading them, and I'm going, that's my book. It's just, they're calling stunning colors and stunning stories. And it's like, I couldn't pay these people to write things that nice, but that back cover you'll see it's a hand. So we have that as a poster and postcards and stuff like that. If you want, but that was Ernie. And then we just had the colorist made it. It's gorgeous. So.
Yeah, it's a beautiful image, and it's got a lot of depth to it, because you see the guys you know that there has been a battle because you see this hand like this dripping blood in the foreground, and in the background you see the guys, our two lead characters are gone, and there's a lot of distance. It looks like a beautiful movie shot, is what it looks like.
And if you look at it, if you go to the our website, sacredbandofthebes.com, that's our banner. That we use that. We've used that everywhere as kind of that's our trademark.
And that's the one that's done by
Ernie Cologne.
Yeah, man. And I'm sorry, Glenn. What I was asking about was, out of the 100+ pages that you have in the book, you have the story. Is there anything in the back of the book, like sketches or character design?
No.
Added. Okay, that's what I was curious about.
It's just actually
this is the story.
It's actually 120, I think, 6, because we have the forward and the acknowledgments and stuff like that at the beginning. It got to be the point because like I said, we've been working on this now for 16 years, and it's like it's there. We're thinking about. McLean said, well, we can always do later on. We can do a sketchbook. We can add something to it. So he's kind of said, let's get this book out. Let's move along. And if there's a part of it also, and again, it's kind of that hopeful pie in the sky wishing, as I'm talking to studios and producers, that it makes a movie, then it becomes interesting. And then, let them, here's your sketches, here's the interesting things. Maybe we'll do a thing at Comic-Con and we can show all of that. So we have them all. I have so much on my computer of all these sketches. Matter of fact, there's one sketch for Sid, just for Sid's 90th birthday. There's a party, and I had, I think it was, probably Danielle. There's a art cover photo, the cover art that we created of a gladiator standing on the top and Sacred Band of Thebes, and it's Sid's face on it, and it says "Happy Birthday, Sid." I gave it to him with that. So there's all little things we have. We just haven't put it in. At 122 pages and 16 years, we go, let's move along.
That's 16 years, and finally coming together. I mean, the book is done, right?
Like I said, my daughter, who gives notes, she started this when she was 12. Now she's giving notes, and she gives all the artistic, because she's out of age. She gets this, so she's just giving me notes now on the acknowledgement in the forward, and then once that's done, I send that in today, and everything should be basically locked in by, I think we have a couple more little edits, and we're hoping by the end of this week it'll be locked in, and then it'll be all put up and ready for the 15th.
So once the Kickstarter is done, so you've got about 5 days left. When do you all hope, because we got a lot of things going on with shipping and docs and everything and printers. When do you all hope to have the books out to people's hands?
We're hoping that we'll have it on Amazon for everything and Apple for digital on the 15th. And if somebody orders it, then it's whatever if you order the digital on the 15th, you'll get it. And for the other copies, it's whatever the Amazon's, how long it takes them to print it and ship it.
So you're doing the printing through Amazon. That's interesting.
Yeah, they do. There's another company, I believe, and again, I don't know this part. There's another company that may do the initial ones that we're sending out for the Kickstarter. So they'll be getting out a little bit earlier. But for the most part, Amazon now has the ability to print, and I've seen some of this stuff. It's amazing. So they can do it like the soft, it's not staple bind. It's not staple. So it's hard binding, whatever they call that. So we didn't have to worry about making, everything had to be in groups of 4 for pages or 8 and stuff like that. It's whatever pages we want. And then the same thing with the hard covers are going to be solid binding, not staples.
Will it be sewn binding?
No. However they do it, so it's flat. Whatever that binding is, it's like where's a graphic novel that has? Yeah, like
you're talking about glued binding.
Yeah, it'll be a glued binding
like that. So come in flat. By the way, Sid's book 9/11, his graphic novel.
I have to ask, how did you and Sid even meet?
when I was,
because he was
way back.
He was in his 90s when he passed away.
Yeah, 90. He was 90. He was 92.
92 back in 20. He passed away in 2012, didn't he?
Yeah. No, 2022.
2022. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He was. He was getting ill. He was up. He moved back up to San Francisco, where his daughter lived. And I have to say, I've become a member of the family. The kids reach out to me, and this is what's going on and stuff like that. So, when I was in high school, and the Ruddles came out, and there was a Marvin Kipman who used to be the columnist for Newsday and the LA Times Syndicate, and I would write to him when the Ruddles came out. He had all this paraphernalia that studio sent to him, and he wrote a thing. He said, "I'm going to give it to anybody who wants it." Big Ruddles fan, so I sent him a letter, and he sent me back, and he said, "Got a lot of requests. Yours was the funniest. Here you go." And then we started writing, and he would quote me all the time, and it was in his columns, and we became friends. Sid's son wanted to write sitcoms, and Sid.
Oh,
and Marvin,
really? Okay.
Yeah, Sid and Marvin were best friends. They met in college, and they've been friends for all these years. So Marvin tells Seth's son, I know television, but I don't know, you're called Glenn. So Sid's son calls me, we talk, we're doing things. At the same time, I'm pitching a movie for Wendy the Good Witch at Harvey. They're doing movies, and I got called into that. And we're pitching this, and as we're going, I find out that his father is running Harvey, created these characters. So I go, yeah, I need to meet your father. And his father was living out here. So that's how we introduced, and we became just really close friends. We both agreed that his son should not do. We wrote this great pilot. I had him, and his son took out the best part, which was a callback to actually the producers. And when he called it back, I don't like that. He threw it out. And Sid looked at me and goes, he's an idiot. You're right. So Sid and I just became friends from that experience and talking. And then he would give me books to research. I would write with him. We had different projects. And like I said, he became a close friend, a mentor. And my father passed away in 94. And Sid became my surrogate father. We talked all the time on the phone. We just made each other laugh. So we used to have a competition of who made the worst career moves ever. And Sid always won.
You, Glenn, you.
No. Sid was in the Bro building, the songwriter.
Oh.
And did songs like that. And what's his name? I'm blanking now. The husband and wife man, Barry Mann and what's her name? The songwriters, Barry Mann and.
You got me here, Glenn. I don't
definitely. See, they're huge. I mean, they wrote almost every song. They're huge and stuff like that. They're the couple. If you ever saw Beautiful, the Carole King story, they're the other couple.
Okay. Oh.
So
okay, I don't remember the name, but okay.
Yeah, Barry Mann. Sid's working at Bro Building, and a career move. Barry comes in, he goes, yeah, my lyricist has left. I'm thinking I need a new lyricist. Are you interested? And Sid looked and goes, oh, Barry works on guitars, and I like working with piano people. So he said, yeah, I'm going to pass, but go down the hall and talk to, and that's how they got together, become the greatest songwriting, one of the greatest songwriting teams ever. Why can't I believe it's Barry Mann and it's one of these people. You'd know every song they did. Mm-hmm. You know, they won Academy Award, but that was Sid. Sid said, yeah, no, you should talk to her.
So after doing this project,
yes.
After doing this graphic novel of the Sacred Band of Thebes, what's did you catch the bug? Did you enjoy this? I mean, it's 16 years. It's a long time for this project to come out. Is it something that you're interested in continuing doing more graphic novels?
two things. One, it's Cynthia Weil. It's Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil.
Yeah, I just looked it up too.
Yeah, that's
I hate not knowing.
Right, I hate not knowing, and the fact that they were so huge. You see those songs and go, that Sid said, "Yeah, no, you should talk to Cynthia. She's good." People say, "What's your next graphic novel?" And I tell people, I said, "This is." I said, "I promise you, I will never, ever do it. It's not the writing process. It's not. It's dealing with the artists and the colorists and people coming and going, and the fact that this took 16 years. Every day I'm just going, we're almost done. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I just hope it's not an oncoming train." It's like, I love it. I love it. I learned so much, and dealing with these artists, it was just incredible and what they brought to life. But Bart, you write a movie, it takes, and we write relatively fast, and you write it, you're done, and you move on. This is, he'll tell you, I've been dealing with this for just forever. It's like the guest who comes to visit and won't leave.
Wow.
So very proud of it, though. I mean, I'm just.
Oh, it's an amazing book. It really, truly came out so far beyond my expectation. You know, you write, being film writers as we are, you know, you write things most of the time and you don't know how they'll come out. You just have no idea what the end product will look like, because we normally don't go to set. We're not in charge of anything. And so, right. You know, in television, you got a little bit more of that, but not a lot all the time. And in features, you got almost none of it. So I think it was very natural for he and I to step back and just go, but Glenn dealt with the day to day, and, you know, would call me going, you know, and I'm like, okay, calm down. You know, and once McClane came aboard, it seemed like some of the pressure got taken off, because we don't speak this language. We did what we did, and I think we did it pretty well, but we don't speak the language of graphic novel. And there is a whole lexicon.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
That goes on in this. And we were not versed in this. So, you know, we, you know, even when Sid would come to us early on and say, I'm thinking we need a 3/4 panel or something, you know, we Glenn and I'd be like, you know, texting each other, what the fuck is he talking about? What's he saying? You know, I mean, you know, we'd have to figure it out later, how he wanted this, you know, whether he wanted it this way or the pictures would go this way. And, you know, once we sort of got some of that stuff done, but there is a whole thing, you know, when he's trying to explain to an artist what he wants. For us, it's almost easier to explain what you don't want, because we don't know what we want until we see it.
And again, we're thinking, in my mind, I'm visioning a movie. I'm visioning storyboarding a movie. I will say the two things is, one is that pretty much for the last 12 years, McClane and I had a standing Thursday morning phone call. And basically, I always explain to him, your job is, I'm on the ledge. You need to talk me off the ledge. And we always have these little shorthands. It goes, come inside. This is what's happening. And other times I'm back out. He goes, okay, you need to, I can't bring you in the house. I can't bring you inside, but just move back a little bit, or you can come inside, but don't close the window. And I've been doing that for all of these years. So McClane has been handling that. The other thing is I've written movies, I've had things on television, I've seen things. It's like, okay, whatever passes. I have to say, I'm looking forward to holding. This might be the thing I'm the most proud of, because it's physical. It's people are looking at it and they're holding it. And I have people who've seen, you know, oh, you did a movie. Oh, you did a show. Yeah, I saw it. It was great. Whatever. Reach out and go, oh my God, I can't believe you did this. And it's the feeling of, you know, even books and stuff like Bart's written books, but you write books. This is something that, like I said, it's a coffee. Everyone wants this to put on their coffee table. They want it in their office. They go, this is something to display. And that's just overwhelming.
And I think that's the difference. I mean, I love looking at graphic novels. I love graphic art. It's stunning to me. I mean, I don't know how people do this. I am in awe of what these good artists do. And like I said, when we saw this book and we knew it was going to be 100 plus pages when we piecing this all together, it's like, oh my gosh, this is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And, Glenn and I think in comic books, that's what the stuff we kind of grew up with was comic books, not graphic novels. And, Sid gave us a bunch and said, look at these. And, so you sort of learn the patterns that would go on in terms of artwork and as we would break it down to read the story, and Sid was a huge help in this as well, how we did the dialogue and how we did I don't even know what, again, I don't know the lexicon, when we're explaining something at the bottom of
balloons.
A panel.
They're balloons. Thought balloons.
No, the balloons were the dialogue.
Oh, yes,
yeah,
yes,
we also have some of that stuff. I mean, and we're writing dialogue.
Yeah.
Because, and then we also knew we had to cut it way down. And so the economy of writing for a graphic novel is really difficult. And it took us a while to get it. And thank God we had Sid. I mean, thank God we had it.
And there are no speeches. In a movie, someone can explain what's going on. Here, you have to explain what's going on in a sentence and where it's coming from, and an image.
And we had to explain the image.
Yeah. So I mean, I have unbelievable respect for people who do this, who do comic. I grew, like I said, I grew up watching. I was in DC, Superman, and all those, but I never really got into comics or graphic novels. But seeing this now and seeing what goes on to create these, it's just my hat's off to these people. It's just
it's a big eye opener for sure. It's a lot easier. I think anybody that has ever read comic books has once probably thought about writing their own or drawing their own, and it is so difficult to do. It's so much easier said than done to do something like this.
And we were blessed because we had both worked in the film business and had broken down stories even with images before, just for storytelling purposes when you're pitching, or what they call pitch decks and things like that. We had done a little bit of that stuff, so we had some idea how to do this. But we were, again, I go back to Sid. We were so blessed to have somebody say yes, no.
And I would be remiss. There's one other important person, because this was not gratis. Artists were paid. Everyone was paid. Mark McFan, who was an investor, he came, and my wife introduced us. She was an executive in the studios. Met him for other things, and we hit it off. And he saw this, and he thought, this is really good. And he thought enough about it. He became an investor, and he put up the money to get this done. He also had no idea that it would take. He came in he came in, I think, in year 5, so he had no idea. And that's the other conversations I had to have of, like, the investor who's a business guy going, well, why don't you just tell him there's a bonus, or you're going to charge him less, or you're going to take it? And it's like, artists don't it's like, I understood as a writer. He goes, yeah, artists don't care that there's going to be a bonus and not, or times that people, they're on their own. And graphic, I'm finding out these kind of artists, the people who do colors and the people who do drawings, are completely, it's like, thank you for it, whatever it is, no matter how long it takes, whatever the delay, you go, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So I've been doing that, but now that it's all coming together, but without Mark, I mean, this doesn't happen either, because
Mark really championed this, and it was nice to have that guy back there too. It was just great to have him. Beyond him being just a good human being and a nice person, it was good to have somebody back there, or it would have just been Glenn and I's words with no picture.
And the fact that having an investor, I could go to artists and go, the investor is very angry. I was going to say, the money people are angry at you, and he's talking lawsuits. Oh, so I was the velvet glove. He was the metal hand in it. But he doesn't know that. Now he does.
I do have to say that, my hat's off to you both, and to everybody in your team, because it's very commendable. You were able to do it. It's not easy. I've seen a lot of people start something, and unfortunately, because as you've said, artists and everybody has to make a living, right? And if you're working on something that isn't being published, isn't being put out, and there's no money coming in, then you got to move on to other things. And that's happened a lot. It's happened to not just personal friends of mine, but it's happened to a lot of people that I've interviewed. And you didn't quit.
Yeah.
Which says a lot about.
And that's Glenn. That's
McLean, and McLean McGuire, who's, you know, if anyone's putting together a book, he's in Texas. If anyone's trying to put together a book, he does covers. He was weird. He came in as the letterer, and then I found out he does everything else. And he's basically been the person behind who kept this thing going. And without him, none of this happens. It's an incredible world. I've enjoyed every minute being in it. I'm going to enjoy every minute looking back and go, that was a nice experience. It's like being on a bad TV show.
But it was so incredible. When you kept telling me, because you were seeing stuff before I was, and you kept saying, wait till you see this. Wait till you see this. And I'm like, dude, you can't do this to me. You gotta send something over.
I wouldn't send them everything. I would wait until I had things, and they say, "Oh, he's gonna," and I would
and then he would send me stuff that wasn't colored, but I could just tell by the artwork. You're like, oh my gosh, this is like beyond what the scope I thought this was going to look like. And then when it got colored, and you saw the skies and the mountains and the dirt in the ground and you love the blood stuff and the sword fights and how you feel these fights, how you feel them in still pictures is amazing to me. I mean, those guys really captured movement in still pictures. That's hard to me.
Yeah. And Bart said one of the best things to me after we finished the whole thing, and I said, okay, I need you to read it, look for errors, and so we can do any fixes and colors and everything necessary. And I said, now, because he hasn't looked at it, I said, read it now for the first time. And he read it from page 1 straight through. And he said, I was all emotional at the very end. And I knew what was happening because I wrote it. But it was just overpowering.
It's got a really lovely story. That's what I'm hoping, from our part, from Glenn, and Glenn has a much bigger part, but from my part, I hope people take away that we created a really good story that has some emotional weight to it to match these images. I mean, I feel like we were outclassed when I saw it. I mean, that's because I don't know how they do that. I just don't know how they do it. It's just it's amazing to me.
I looked at it and then mocking up the final covers, and I used to one, but the final cover, and it's going to be, the name would be Sid and Bart and myself, and I'm going, why is my name on this? It's like even though I created a story, I've done such a little part of this compared to what came out. It's like, oh my God. So I'm almost like, thank you.
Man, it's crazy because now that you mention cover and names, it's not just going to be Sid's name on there, but also Ernie's name.
Well, on the cover it will be Sid, Bart, and myself. But Ernie's in the acknowledgments of where this all came from. But I mean, the people whose names from it, it's this is, and I take pride. The dedications dedicated to Sid is I still miss him to this day. But it's this is Sid says to talk to his daughter and stuff like that. This is Sid's last project. He passed away 2 years ago, but this is his. It's all because of him, and it's the last testament to Sid Jacobson.
Oh man, well, gentlemen, I want to thank you both for your time, for just hanging out here and talking about this book. You have any words of advice to anybody that's thinking about giving up on writing?
Don't do it, Glenn. Don't do it. Say nice things.
Especially Glenn. Like anybody that's like, what, I've been working on this.
I've worked with Glenn a long time. I'm going to say this. I've worked with him for a long time. And we've had our ups and downs, as any relationship does have. But when he gets behind something, it's going to get done. He's like for lack of a better phrase, he's like a dog with a bone. He can thank everybody else, and I will thank everybody else too, because I understand the contributions and everything that came with that. But he's the man that put this together, and it is spectacular. Simple as
and
that.
My advice, if you're gonna do this, like I said, I wouldn't anymore. But if that's what your passion is, find the people who are better than you. No matter how good you think you are, find people who you think are better than you and get them and listen to them. Let them incorporate. Don't say, this is my book, I'm hiring you to write. Tell them, I'm hiring you to draw the pictures. It's like, no, I have this idea. I want you to bring my ideas to life. Treat them like, that's how I treat all the artists and the Ace and Daniel and the colorists. I go, this is yours. I want to see your essence. Bring what you have to the book. Don't color my book. Color what you think. So, and they did. They all did that. There were a couple of things they would call like an art. We're not sure what's going on. And I gave them permission when they said, can we change these pages? Can we move it? And the original script was actually 137 pages. Yep. And they said that, and they said, we can combine this. I said, you guys, you're the artist. Here's your stories. You do now what you think is correct artistically. And I always made sure that they knew that that I'm not involved in the artist. I might just say, I don't, can you change that color, or you can change this, but everything else this is your vision now. And that helps because they become part of it.
Yeah, they did become part of it. I mean, the people that worked on this book all, added something of their soul into this. And I think that's one of the reasons it came out is nicely, and why I can be as proud of it as I am. I mean, it's just like, I having your name on something like this. And like I said, I've had movies made, I've worked on television series, I've had 10 books published, I've done a lot of stuff. This is so flippin' cool to have my name on. And I just dig this, and I know people are going to love this book, and it's something I'm going to be really proud when people say, "Were you one of the guys that wrote that?" Yes, I was. As a matter of fact, yes, I was. So I think that's, for me, that's the biggest compliment I can give. This is just something that you never know how things are going to come out in what Glenn and I do with our businesses. And when they come out really good, you want to crow this from the top of every building.
Yeah. And my little pitch, because this is part of my job, is for anybody watching this, go to the Kickstarter. Is there a way to put a link just to the Kickstarter?
Yeah. It's in the description of the video, but I can.
Yeah, if you can just put the link to the Kickstarter. It's 5 more days of that. But spread the word, let people know the book's going to be available. If you missed that, the Kickstarter's going to be, there's little buttons and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff. Cool. There's some
cool stuff.
Yeah, there is some cool things.
It's just spread the word, and we're hoping that it gets out there. We're now trying to get reviews and other stuff that people go, oh, this is really cool, and it comes out of now no longer us trying to push it, but other people realizing this is good. Let's bring this in. So anything that anybody can do at this point, greatly appreciated. Oh, perfect. There
you go. It's also in the link in the description if you're watching this later. Glenn and Bart, it is a pleasure to get to talk to both of you and learn about the history, not just of the story taking place, but the story behind the story, how long it took, and all the people that worked on this.
Amazing people that have been cross paths with this project.
I got to tell you, one of the best parts of this whole thing is when I mentioned Sid and Ernie, and you go, Ernie Cologne. It's like I knew them just as people. Sid's a friend, Ernie was there, and stuff like that. But it's like, oh, I guess these people are really. I know them as legendary, but I don't realize this is somebody else who doesn't. Ernie Cologne did that, and you knew Ernie's work. It's like, oh.
Yeah, Ernie was a big legend. I mean, we were very blessed with a lot of his art.
Yep.
So it's really cool to see him attached to the project. Very, very cool.
Wait till you see that back cover. It's something you would rip off a book and put a frame around.
I do have one last question. will the book, I know it's a Kickstarter, but will the book be later available at the book market and the direct market, like comic book stores?
Well, I possibly. I know McLean does all these Comic Cons around Texas, around other places. He does that, and he's going to be bringing them to that. He's kind of. I have no idea how that works.
Okay.
So it's yes, we'd love to have it. And he's like told me go to Comic Con. It's like, well, then I have to print them up, and I don't know. I don't know that part of the business. And when he started explaining what I have to do, he goes, no, I really want to be done. I want to sit there.
I have a feeling
every 3 months when Amazon says these money was sold, I'll go, yay, thank you.
Omar, I have a feeling that when we get a little bit further to get this book out, yes, we will probably get these in bookstores and comic book shops. Hope
yes.
as many places as we can get them. I want people to see this. I mean, we as
and
just
again,
a book.
Yeah, and again, our hope is if things go as we hope, and a studio picks us up to make this a movie, then they're going to be publicizing. If they're publicizing, and stores will go, oh, we need to have a copy of that book. So the nice thing is the book is solid, it's done, and if people want it and stores want it, and they think, oh, we can sell this, it's there for them. So I don't know how that part of the business works.
You just know about the writing and the long haul of writing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you all for watching. And for those of you watching later, check out the Kickstarter. It's up for 5 more days as of this video. The link is in the description of the video. And who knows? Maybe you'll see Glenn and Bart's name on another project one day. Never say never.
Yeah.
Never say never.
That's
and maybe
right.
I'll see you on another plane.
That's right. That's I love how we met. That's so good. It's such an awesome story. Everyone have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are